in this second segment, as this is a crossover show, I know we did spend a little bit more time on Calgary here, but we'll focus more on Toronto in the third segment. In this second segment, this is going to be simple. He got pulled in this game, and his two worst games of the season, arguably, have been against Toronto, ironically enough. But Dustin Wolf has been a revelation for the Flames this season, and he has been everything that every Flames fan has hoped that he would be since he's dominated the AHL for years. So we're going to go long first. We're going to get into the specifics of this, and then at the end of the segment, I'll have you give a briefer version for the people that may not see the full show. But Dustin Wolf, why does he deserve the Calder?
Oh, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I think, while there are a lot of great Calder, guys in contention, the Macklin Celebrinis of the world, the Lane Hudsons of the world that are having great seasons, I think a big argument for Dustin Wolf and what he's doing this year is not only the numbers that he's doing, which again, he's topping the charts among all rookies in wins with 22, save percentage with a .914, and all of these are prior to tonight. I'm sure all of that took a hit following tonight's game, but heading into this game, leads all NHL rookie goaltenders in wins, save percentage, saves, as well as he's tied for shutouts with 3. But again, while stats tell one story, I think you also have to consider the longer and the bigger impact that his performance is doing. And that is, simply put, he's putting a team like Calgary, who is a bottom feeding team in every facet of the game except the goaltending department, and he's turned them into a team deep in a playoff hunt with 20 games left to go. I know at the start of the season, as much as there was this really strong emphasis that Dustin Wolf needs to come in and he needs to start, I don't think anybody expected him to put out a performance of this stature through 60 games. I know myself, I kind of wanted to see like a split start between him and Vladar, where it's like, hey, let's not give the rookie too many reps and tire him out. And he's forced the Flames' hand in the sense of every single night he is putting the Flames in the best position to win. And he's done this incredible job at being 23, 24 years old, that he has this talent at winning the Flames games. And we haven't seen that in a goaltender since, I would say, Mika Kiprasov, this knack and this talent too. In his talent alone and what he does in the crease, he is capable of winning games for the Flames. It's not something we've seen anything before, and it's really kind of the story of what we've seen past rookie goaltenders that have won the Calder in the past. It's the same kind of story. The most recent is Steve Mason in 2008, 2009. He came in as a rookie for Columbus, and correct me if I'm wrong, and if I did the math right, 33 wins, 10 shutouts, and he single-handedly put the Columbus Blue Jackets in their first ever playoff series. And again, that is an incredible accomplishment. And I'm not saying Dustin Wolf is going to put up the stats he did, but again, it's the broader story that he's been able to do and what he's been able to do for this Flames team is really something you have to consider. And again, the Macklin Celebrinis, who 50 points in 56 games against a bottom feeding Shark team. I'm not trying to knock him because his performance is also, he's having quite a performance, but this isn't something we see in goaltenders very often. And I think that's what gives him a little bit more leverage over guys like Celebrini, who are incredibly talented, guys like Hudson that are incredibly talented, but their story we've kind of seen before, haven't we? Versus this is something the first time in maybe 15 years that we're seeing in a guy like Dustin Wolf. And again, I don't want to get too rambling here. I know this is your show, Zach, but you also have to, you mentioned his time in the AHL and what he's been able to do. He's a player of the year, a goaltender of the year. But even before the AHL, his time in the Western Hockey League in Everett, he won just about every award he could win as a goaltender in that league. And it seems like, if the track record shows, in every league he establishes himself in, he finds success, whether it's individual or team based. And that's just something you can't really omit when you compare him to the other guys that are in contention for this award.
Yeah, and the other factor too, you say that we haven't really seen a goaltender do this in a decade and a half, right? The other thing we haven't really seen is a goaltender that looks like Dustin Wolf. And what I mean by that is Dustin Wolf is if physically, when you look at him, he is the antithesis of what a traditional goalie looks like. He's not tall at all. He's tiny. He's short. He's not very big at all. Like he is super skinny, super short, and all like every logical any piece of logical thinking over what makes a goaltender a great goaltender is their ability to take up a lot of the net, and also the athletic component, which is where Wolf makes up for a lot of those deficiencies. And on the broadcast, they talked about the fact that Wolf's favorite goalie growing up was Jonathan Quick. And when I hear that, I think two things. One is, man, are we old if goalies are growing up watching guys that we've been watching for 10 plus years and that are still in the league, right? But the other is that makes so much sense because when you watch Dustin Wolf play, he looks exactly like prime Jonathan Quick, where he is almost always just sliding around as low to the ice as he can possibly be, the true definition of a butterfly goalie. When you watch him play, what are the things that he does differently from a Dan Vladar, for example, the a more traditional goalie that allows him to make up for his size deficiency?
I think you said it best. Like it's really the athleticism. For such a small frame, he is so talented at being able to move in such he makes things like he makes difficult saves look easy. And like the stuff I've seen him do, he kind of just like shrugs it off like it's an everyday kind of maneuver for him. But again, you mentioned like his small stature really does help him elevate that kind of the sense of athleticism and mobility that you don't see in normal goaltenders, that instead of them just having to kind of crab walk left and right and just take up a big frame. And I think that really also comes down to like the training component of it, and like just the moves he makes is so seamless and something that it looks like he's been doing for years. I mean, I'm not a goalie guy. I can't break down exactly, what exactly works well in terms of his stance and his positioning and stuff, but he looks like he's the type of guy that he looks like, since a young age he's known that he isn't the biggest goaltender in the league, so he kind of embraced that and created his own kind of style and his own form and his own, just the way he moves in the crease based off his size and the advantages that a smaller size goaltender brings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Luke in the chat saying the big difference between Celebrini, Hudson, and Wolf is that Wolf had to be the guy for the Flames, and he is. Nobody expects a skater to steal a game, at least not as often compared to a goalie. And that's going to lead me into my final question on Dustin Wolf Corner, because at this point, Calgary has become the Flying Dustin Wolves. We don't have ballots, obviously, we're not big time like that. But if you had a heart ballot, does Dustin Wolf end up on it? And if so, what spot are you putting him in?
I I hate to say it. As much as I love him and he's having such a strong season, I can't say I can necessarily put him in the Hart ballot when you compare him to what other guys in this league are doing, right? I think when it comes to goaltending, I think the one guy that does deserve a Hart ballot is Connor Hellebuck, right? What
Mm-hmm.
he's doing in Winnipeg, and of course he's playing on an elite team in Winnipeg, and that does help in some way or form. But even with how good Winnipeg is, he is still the man in that crease. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
stories and we've seen past seasons, the cough Edmonton Oilers of the world, where they have a good, they have a relatively decent goaltender, but his numbers aren't anything spectacular because you have just this unwavering force called Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid that can outscore just about any problem you have. Winnipeg has shown, at times this season, they have lapses in their game. They have nights where the offense takes a backseat, their defense takes a backseat, and Connor Hellebuck is the man that is producing doing what Dustin Wolf is doing and winning games for you. So I really think, as much as I do want to give him a vote in the Hart, I just think even in terms of goaltenders, he's not the best goaltender in the league. And this season speaking, right? And then again, you have your your Alex Ovechkins of the world that are 8 goals away of breaking the all-time goal scoring record, right? You have Leon Draisaitl, who is unstoppable this year. So as much as I love Dustin Wolf and as much as I've been caught, for lack of a better word, glazing him at parts of this season, I really do have to think in the long term and what other players are doing in this league. And there are obviously guys that are more deserving of the heart. I mean, I think a different conversation is potentially the Vesna in the sense of like you're not necessarily having to compete with players, it's just
Yeah.
goaltenders. But again, at this point of the season, I think Calder is definitely contention and arguably a favorite, but I think you have to think logically as well. And I could see maybe votes going, a third place vote, maybe going to Wolf. And I'm reading the chat as well, Luke. I don't necessarily hate Dustin Wolf, but I do think logically from time to time, and that is coming from a Flames fan, and he's really been the only kind of bright note of this team this season.